Hello everyone, glad to have you in the class for our painting acrylic Purple Mountain Majesty. We'll get started. I've got my 8 by 10 canvas board. Excited to get started. Just a little note, I think I mentioned before that canvas panels do tend to have a little more texture than a stretched canvas. So we'll keep that in mind. We are using our hog's hair brushes, which the bristles they work really well to get the paint into the little crevices. So that'll be a big help, but do take note of it. When I first started out painting, I was frustrated because I didn't really realize the textural difference between a panel and a stretched canvas, and noticing little white spaces because the paint hadn't been worked in or I hadn't done 2 coats or something. So do make note of the big textural difference here. We'll get started. We're doing our yellow and pink background. I'm starting with my cadmium yellow or any bright yellow. This yellow is a little warmer than, say, a Hansa yellow. This one, yellow has a little bit of red lean to it, so it's warmer. I'm grabbing white too. Just blending that in. I know you've got a paper towel in your lap that you can wipe because we don't have to wash every time. I'm grabbing my portrait pink and I'll work that in on the outside with a little bit of white. You can see some of the yellow and the portrait pink blending. And when we do our second layer, this will be dry and maybe we can add extra pops of pink if we like. You can go in any direction. As you know, 2 layers makes a big difference, so we're not too worried about our brush strokes right now. Okay, I'll finish that up. Maybe wipe off the edge. And I'll go ahead and take a little bit of white just down here. I think I'm going to do a dash of pink at the bottom. Okay. Just soften a little bit here and there. You know, that lighter touch creates the softer blend, although we'll be doing most of our blending in the second one. Okay, I'm gonna wash my brush. And our next would be our first mountain. So I'll go over here and I'm going to mix my very light purple. We are creating an effect of distance, and this is a good value study. So we're starting with, I'm using Golden's Permanent Violet Dark, but you know, just purple, making it 3 different, the purple maybe straight out of the bottle, and then one with a lot of white and one with, you know, half white. Just have 3 values of purple. I'm going to draw my first mountain, maybe like down here, okay, and then maybe here, and this one in the back, we'll go ahead and fill in. I'm going to grab a dash of white too, just a nice background. Okay, we'll clean up our edges nicely in the second layer, but still nice to think about. The more paint you have on your brush, usually the cleaner edge that you can get. All right, I'm gonna grab a little bit darker. I'm just taking a little bit of the purple and working it into the previous purple just to take it up one step. And I'm gonna go ahead gonna go ahead and change the shape of this one. Just a little bit of dynamic, you know, texture with mountain shapes here. And we'll add to those in the next layer. Kind of get an idea of what I want. Okay. And then for my next layer, I'm going to wash my brush because I want this to be darker. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue into my purple, just to step it up a bit. Let's see, and then do, ooh, I really like that. Oh. And then, you know, just play with your shapes. Trying to avoid maybe a hilly look, maybe just, but some structure. But again, we're not doing a photograph from a photograph or anything that serious or overly representational. No. And then we'll, a few coats of that, and then we'll pick up only our ultramarine blue and work that into it because we are transitioning from purple to ultramarine blue. And these two transition great together because ultramarine has a red bias. All colors lean one way or the other, and since it's leaning red and you need blue and red to make purple, just a really nice way to transition. I'm going to pick up a little white because I do want to begin to transition to lighter as we go down. So I'll pick that up. And again, it's going to look a little crazy. I'm going in all different directions. It's not really a big thing right here. So we will be getting better coverage in our second layer. And you can always smooth it out a little if you wanted, but it's not a big deal. A little dash of white, and all the way to the bottom. Okay. All right, I'm going to blow dry, I think, and then we're going to redefine these shapes. I may actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think what I want to do before we finish up this layer, I want to make that top mountain a little bit bigger. I'm going to go back into my original, still got some of that actually, so, and height, no, make this a little bit taller. And we have to go in and get a little extra purple to make sure I can get, yeah, good coverage. There we go. Going to switch brushes just so we can go in. Still this needs to be light because it is the first mountain in the range here, our imaginary mountain range. I'm gonna grab a dash of white just to blend in, so I'm sure. And when we do a second coat, we'll definitely make sure that the mountains are getting darker as they're moving forward in space. Even in our imaginary landscape here, it helps to have some base in reality. Most imagination does have a basis in reality. Okay. All right, we'll touch that up when we come back to it. We'll go ahead and do okay, there we go. And then just tweaking your first layer so that you understand what you want your composition to look like. I'm gonna redo the line. I don't want it to be the same, so I may go down. Yeah, I don't want to have the exact mirror the same. So, make sure. Okay, we're getting into a little bit of a second coat, but I also need to blend it before it dries, or okay. I'm gonna go ahead and blow dry it where it is. I don't want to be working paint that's half dry. Okay. Okay, I've blow dried, and I went back and added another mountain range sort of on top of this one. I just felt like I didn't like that it was such a low dip here. I didn't want that right in the center. So there is an even lighter mountain range. So it's almost as if we have 4. And I'm working, letting this one dry a little bit, and I'm touching up the color, changing the color a bit on this second one, which was our former first one. So you just want to do a second layer of each of your mountains now. The first layer does need to be dry before you go in. So, and you want to use the correct size brush for the size that you're working in. And a gentle touch and having a good amount of paint on the brush is important because that helps you get clean edges. Also a light touch. This is probably going to be, you know, aside from some touch-ups, you know, as the more we move forward with our layers, the more refined our layers need to be. So we may pick up softer brushes, we may go lighter in our touches. We're not trying to work into the tooth and lay down our first marks, but so we may be gentle, and that will help cause better blending and not have the brush strokes unless we're looking for that with texture. All right, I'm going to go for this color now. Gonna kind of basically come up with a medium value. I've been adding a little bit of blue to my purple. I know we did it on this layer, and I liked that so much that I did add it on these 2 layers, and I think I'm gonna up the blue a bit. It's okay to mix, you know, mix and find whatever purple version you like best, with as long as you're moving forward in light, then a little bit darker, and then you're dark. So this layer here, just because I decided I wanted a little more blue in my mountains, my bluish purple. This is the ultramarine, the permanent violet dark, and white. I'm going to switch to our darker color. This is the purple and the ultramarine blue only. So, and then we transition into ultramarine only, then some white. So if we, a little more. Okay. Okay. Going in. Just wanting to really make a clean edge all the way up against that last mountain. It's a nice darker purple. It's okay if you want to go back and forth between your different blends. Really, you know, these could be, you could have a mixture of purples. As long as the value is getting darker as you go, it doesn't have to be a solid. It's really, you know, make it your own if you want. You could even do totally different colors. Like, how about blue and orange? An orange sky with blue mountains. What inspired me to do this was the purple and yellow, which are complementary colors. So I'm going to switch to a larger brush, washing this one, drying with my paper towel. And let's see. A little bit of ultramarine to work into my purple. And then a bit of yellow. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the yellow on my palette. A bit of white to blend in. I think I may be doing, yeah, I think I may do one more layer and then I'll switch brushes. I'm gonna grab a dash of purple even. Yeah, I'm gonna grab a dash of purple. Going all the way to the edge there. Yeah, okay, I think I want to check that yellow, add a little more yellow there, and then we'll do another coat on that new mountain, the top one. Take a little white and a little yellow and just go over this burst of sunlight I love in them up here in the sky. Gonna grab I wiped my brush because I didn't want any more yellow. A little bit of white, blend it in. I'm lightly touching because I'm really focused on a nice blend. And then I'm gonna grab a little of the portrait pink and redo my outer edges. That down a little bit. Really a light touch is what's important in this feathering back motion. The brush is just on the edge. And white is also important as a transitional blend. It also gives a nice pop of light. You know, I do like this right here. A burst of light in that part of the painting. Like the idea of it, a burst of light down here. You could always also use the white to tap in clouds. You know, a little tap of. All this has to happen. I mean, it's a small painting, so we're usually okay because our drying time is going to be pretty good because it's small. And because I'm using a textured canvas panel, I feel like I get a little bit more because I've got the divots holding the paint rather than if you were painting on a canvas or stretch canvas or even paper dries much quicker. So you'll want to think about that. Okay. There we go. That works for sky. Oh, I dig that. So I'm going back into the first value of purple that I have here and going to want to have a good amount of paint on your brush because that's how we're going to get our edges to be cleaned. Rough edges sometimes are a symptom of that you don't have enough paint on your brush, and sometimes we're timid about too much paint, so go ahead and get enough. You can always edit if it's too much. Start simple until you get a feel for it. Okay. Also, sometimes a tad bit of water can help the paint slide enough to get a good edge. Just a bit of water, especially the canvas panels, because they're so textured. The little divots can cause a skip, and then you have little divots without paint in them. So, okay, finish that there. Oh, I really like this color. Reminds me of a version of, do you guys remember in your crayon box, one of my favorite crayons was the Periwinkle crayon. Okay, so I'm doing the lighter touch. I'm going to turn it a little bit so you can get it. I'll go over on this side. Oops. See, I did a little skip there because I didn't have enough paint on my brush. Go ahead back up in it. Okay. Finish that up. Okay, I've done my second coat of everything. We redid the sky, we did second or third coats, just get some good touch-ups in our mountains. We've maintained that our value is light in the background, moving darker as we move forward. I did do another coat of our purple to blue transition to white, wanting to make sure we had a nice amount of white because I like that as a background, like a mist coming from behind the trees. We'll get started on our trees now. I've got a square brush, and I've made the dark purple that we started with, that permanent violet dark, with a dash of black and a little bit of water to thin out because it's easier to draw and glide over a surface when it has a little bit thinner consistency. I'm going to turn just a bit here so we can see, and I'll draw our first fairly thin tree trunk. We're going to go right about here and holding a 90-degree, draw all the way down, maybe even a little bit of a wiggle, nothing big, and go down to the ground, to the base of the painting. And I'm going to go back in, maybe halfway, and do another one right next to it, just so we're a dash thicker at our base. And fill that in somewhat. You're going to have a little bit of diversity in your trunk, you know, like bumps and wiggles, just so it's a different thicknesses and textures. Okay, and we'll get started on our first tree. Maybe a little V shape or V wiggle at the top, just tapping with our brush. Tap, tap. I really like to utilize the tip of the brush, the way it's since it's a flat, it has a thin line as the crisp, and that nice crisp edge is good to work with. So again, just little tap here and there. Maybe they're kind of facing upward a bit, and some of them are more outward. You could have some that you're barely touching the canvas, and some where you push a little heavier. Okay. Going up a bit. Maybe tap with the corner a bit. You know, we've got a lot of different textures going on here. As I said, it's a little bit of the purple, the black, and a dash of water just to give us some easy glide. And I'm going to continue tapping as I move down. Okay, I realize it's a little dark. The dark blue there can be a little challenging to see, but that's only for a brief moment, and then we'll be into the white, so continue to work your way down, and as they go out they get a little wider and a little heavier. Maybe you tap. They also maybe tend to get a little bit closer together, the branches. I'm still just tapping. Just making more of the color. And going back in. They do get closer together, but I still want to make sure that I preserve lights coming through. So that means that I don't want to fill in every single space. Go ahead and just take this, fill in a few here and there, and then take this down all the way to the bottom. Okay, so that's just our first tree, the first layer. And I want to go ahead and add a few more ideas. I think that I do want to add a few branches here and there in the background, or trunks rather. Really helps actually if you stay thin on their first pass and then halfway through push down, you get a thicker branch, but that may only even be necessary for the ones that are closer forward. If it's further away, you can just stay pretty thin. No, and not all of them are hitting the bottom. You can see I didn't stop on a few because it depends where they are in space. And I'm going to kind of jump around a bit, trying to do ones in the back first, technically. We may put some more in front there. We're going to add a few highlights too later on, adding a little white to our paint, but I'll go ahead. Let's do this little guy here like he's in the back. And I'm just going to tap with the crisp edge of my brush, keeping them sticking up a little bit. Like a letter V, you know, and then as you go out, they might get a little heavier. I think this color works nice with the idea of the purple blended in with the black. I struggled at first to decide what color to use. You know, do I use solid black, blue, but I wanted it to all tie together, and that, you know, that did it like that. Where we ended up. I'm just gonna let that stop right there. Back in. do another one that's a little farther away. I do want to see, the blue coming through. I'll work on this one here is a little trickier because I put it behind this big one, so just kind of work with me, or you go ahead and do it a little, arrange your background differently. I made sure that I didn't have a lot of paint on my brush for this one. If you go really light, if you don't have a lot of paint, they recede back because they're lighter, and that'll do the trick. So that helped. Just doing that. Yeah, that helped. Just doing a little bit lighter one. And then there's another one here. All of these are going to technically be in the back, because I'm sure we'll put some more in the front too. So you won't see a lot. You won't see every bit that we've just painted because we're doing layers, just like we did for our mountains. This is our tree underpainting, sort of. Just like we did mountains are lighter back, our trees end up lighter back. So every time something is in front of something else, you could use a little more black in your paint, or a little more pressure to make a more dark appearance in the work. There's a little bit more dark in this one I'm doing now, more black. And always, so still, every now and then I dip in my water and blend that into the paint. It just helps me with the glide. All the way to the bottom on this one. Okay. Oh yeah, let's do this little guy right here. I think we'll keep him light, suggesting that he's more in the back. So he would be more purple and less paint on the brush. And you could always grab another canvas, like maybe a recycled canvas, one you've painted on before, and practice your trees on that before you get started. It's really a big help, your mind. I sketch out things before I decide. Sometimes I even do a little quick painting, like, what colors do I want to do? What am I, what is the plan here? That really helps. But also just like, oh, okay, let me practice this, or let me go to the video and only watch the tree section, or pause, move my main painting out of the way, practice what she's saying about trees, and then I'll rewatch the tree section and do it again. Ooh, that's pretty. I just took a big blob of purple and put right on top of the black I'd just done, and I like that. Be careful. I might have done a tad too much, but we'll see. Yeah, when you make your trunks, you want to paint backwards to forwards. I'm sort of doing that now, but it helps moving forward in space to layer them over and paint from light to dark that way. Just tapping. Looking at my bottom row. I don't know how much of my bottom I really want to see. Take that up a little bit higher. Like my trunk needs to be a little thicker. Go and take that down. Okay. All right. Okay. Excuse me. Just tapping out branch after branch. Over that. Every now and then, dipping back in the water, dipping back in the purple, dipping back in the black. Okay, just finishing up this last tree. And then we're going to go ahead and I just painted this one and I totally had the vision of a mustache. Right, we're at the bottom. Finish this up. I think, yeah, we'll just finish this out and then blow dry. Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and finish this and blow dry it. All right, we're going to work on our final layer of trees. I have done one here, and we're probably going to do 2 to 3 more, just a few foreground trees to build up a mass of trees. This one here, I did straight black, and then on top, while it was still wet, I brought in our light and then a little bit of purple only at the bottom. This light color is made of a little tiny black, purple, and some white. It's sort of a grayish purple. So that's on this tree. We'll go ahead and do similar versions in different heights for the final layer. So I'm gonna grab, I did grab a different brush. This is an angle brush. It's not something you have to have. You can keep doing it with your square. I switched because my square, I was really creating a lot of little, when you press after a while, you start to get a lot of damage to the brush. Basically, you have made a brush that is for trees and pressing. So I wanted to create some lines that weren't going to do that. So this one will allow me to tap a little gentler. It's a softer one. So I'm grabbing black again only and doing maybe right about here. I want to go to the left or right of a previous trunk, not right on top. So if I go right about here, straight line, we push a little bit more at the bottom so that the base of the tree is thicker because they're tapered. And then we'll grab our black and do similar motions where we just the little V shape, the top, and then maybe press a little bit harder. I think I'm going to use the tip on this one and lightly continue with that V shape. I'm going to dip a little bit of water in my paint as we did previously so that things flow a little bit better. That's just a little tap. Coming all the way down to the bottom. And then I'll grab my light color, which is that purple and dash black, that purpley gray, and then just tap it on the tops of my trees that are still wet. A little bit over here, a little bit here, and here too. And then when we get to the bottom, I'm dipping only in purple. I didn't wash my brush. I just wanted to maybe come up into a little transition. Coming all the way down. Maybe a little bit over here. Yeah, just to using the side of my angle brush, or even the side of your straight, if that's what you're doing, going up and down. All right, we're gonna add one here, and I'm just gonna wipe it off and dip into the black and go to the left or right of another branch. We've got a lot going on right here, so I think I'll do a smaller one and then one larger one here. So if I do a small one right here, pressing a little bit more at the base, and grabbing my black with a bit of water so we can flow nicely. I'm using the tip. I know it can be hard to see these dark on dark colors, but you know, as soon as I get the highlights in, then you can kind of see things a little bit better. Moving down. Okay, grabbing our highlight. And just right. Doesn't have to be directly on top, just in an area. And then grabbing the purple only. And bottom, adding it up, back in. Adding, you can always add a little bit of purple, or a little bit here, you know, extra, anything you have on your brush that you want to add to a tree in the background. You can do that. Just being careful not to overwork it. I mean, we all have the challenge of when do we stop, what's too much, obviously. But we're just playing. I mean, hey, we're painting purple trees. Can't be that serious, right? I really like what it just did, actually. I put a few of these, man, kind of pulls it forward a little, but I like that. Oh, yeah, adding a little bit, a couple branches there. We're going to go ahead and do one more tree in the front here. Oh, say hello to the motorcycle driving by, guys. Ah, the joys of recording. Maybe one day I'll have a recording studio that's soundproof, right? I don't know. I think you like hearing my dog walk around and my husband sneezing and my son doing whatever. And motorcycles. Right? Doing all of that. Just tapping. This one's got a lot of purple in it, actually. I don't even know how I ended up with all this purple, but I like it. So we'll stick with that. Tapping. Creating branches. All the way down. And then our highlight, and okay, so we got a little bit of lights, and a little bit here. Ooh, I like that idea of a little bit being on our trunks of various trees. Tap in some trunks here and there. I like that. Can add some trunks. Just let the eyes visually pretend there's trees that go with them. Yeah. Back to the tree at hand. We'll just tap a little bit of highlight here and there. Oh, that highlight just really brings it out, and it's my favorite part. Okay. Looking at it, what do we need to do? I actually want I really like that highlight color, so I want to grab that and go ahead and work it into a couple of areas, like right here. I really, oh, look at that. Just different shades of purple. Oh my gosh, that's cool. So yeah, go ahead and you want to do that. Add some different purples here and there. I think I want to see that. I don't know, maybe tweak a little bit here. I don't want to overuse it, but I want it to be in more than one spot. So maybe little. Can I get that to show up again? Let me grab that again. There we go. Oh, yay. And you know, this is what it's all about. These end layers, when you sort of get it, it's like, oh. In the beginning, sometimes I think we panic because we don't it's like, this doesn't look right. I'm like, well, you know, it's not the final layer. There's so much more that we've got to do. But in that same right, you can go way too far and be like, oh, wow, I really overdid it there. I didn't need that many trees, or I overworked an area. So it is really smart to step back sometimes and, you know, go take the dog for a walk, or, you know, paint for the morning and then have your lunch and come back, or anything like that. All right. I like this a lot. Really like the purple on top of the black, and love the little highlighted, the trunks we added, the whites. I'm actually really happy. Okay, try to get the whole thing in there for you. It fits exactly in my frame. So, love the purple and yellow sky. Those are complementary colors. The little blue glow we've got down here, that light, so happy with that. We created some nice depth, just suggesting that value as far as the mountains in the back are lighter and they get darker as they move forward. Some pretty highlights on our trees. I think we're good. Looking, the only thing I want to do is I'm dipping in my black and adding a little bit to here, just a little bit. Okay. All right. Let me see. Good, guys. All right. Well, thank you for being in the class. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Please share with me. Post your artwork using the hashtag RedArtLove. And I'll see you in the next class.